With this one, we're going to go through the entire lesson. So it's going to be a little bit more of a lengthy video, but in case you missed it or in case you want a little extra practice on it, we'll go through every part of this particular lesson. We're going to be dealing with the average rate of change. Now, you already know how to do these. You've learned these in Algebra 1. Another word for average rate of change is slope. So we're going to be working on calculating the slope. We're going to be writing some equations, two-step equations. All right, so we have 2 points here. And what we're asked to do is find the slope between these two. Well, in order to find the slope, we need to find out what the slope formula is. So the slope formula is this one. It is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Well, where we get these x1, x2s, y1s, y2s are from our 2 points. What we need to do is label these. We have an x value here and a y value here. I've also got an x value over here and a y value over here. So I need to label those points. There's my x1, y1. Notice how both of these are 1s. These are my first grouping, if you want to call it that. My second grouping would be my x2, my y2. So now that I have these, all we're simply going to do is start plugging these into our formula. So let's start on top. I've got it says y2 minus y1. y2 is negative 2 minus y1, which is 3. Now I use parentheses here. It ensures that I get the right answer. I don't make errors whenever I do parentheses, or at least I make them a lot less than when I don't use parentheses. So I would highly recommend that. Now on the bottom, same process. We're going to go x2 minus x1. That's going to be 3 minus negative 1. All right, so we've got, let's simplify this just a little bit now. We've got negative 2 minus 3 would give us negative 5. 3 minus negative 1 would be 4. 3 plus 1, in other words, which would be 4. So our slope on this one is negative 5/4 would be our slope. Okay, now I want you to try some. So we're going to do the exact same process that we just did, only this time you're going to do it on your own. So go ahead and push pause now after you've obtained the slope for these two, then come on back and push play. Check your answers here. Again, we're just basically, we need to label them first. That's where students make most of their errors. You need to label it first. After you label it, then we're just going to plug it into our formula and then see whatever our answer is. Fractions are okay for right now on paper, on the test, or so forth. If you do online homework, you have to convert this to a decimal. So make sure you can just type it into your calculator and convert it to a decimal, and you'll be fine. All right, now this is Cox Communication for the cable bill. They have a certain amount that they charge for internet services. Okay, if you use the internet for 5 hours a month, they charge you this amount. If you use it for 250 hours a month, then they charge you this amount. What we're asked to do here is we want to find what the average rate of change is between 10 and 50 hours. So we're trying to find the slope between these two. We could write these two as an ordered pair. We could go 10, 44.99. The next one would be 50, 44.99. That's okay. That may be the easiest way you want to do it. So we'll go ahead and calculate the slope between those two. Push pause now after you've obtained your answer. Come on back and push play. Hopefully you identified that you ended up with 0 on top, and 0 divided by anything is 0. So the average rate of change is 0. In other words, Cox doesn't charge you any more because you use the internet a lot or not at all. They have their basic amount that they charge you, and they don't charge you per hour that you use it. So the slope is 0. The more you use it, it doesn't increase the price at all. All right, let's get some more practice here. Find the slope between these 2 points here on number 1 and these 2 points on number 2. Go ahead and push pause now. Come on back and push play when you're ready. Check your answers here. Again, this one is a 0 on top. That works out nice. If 0 is on the bottom, that one is what we call undefined. The slope would be undefined, and you'll have to write that in, undefined, on the online system. But 0 is our slope on this particular one. Okay, now we're going to do a real life one. So you're going on a diet. You weigh 100 pounds. On the 5th day, you weigh 97. So we want to find the average rate of change, and here are your 2 points here. Notice how I obtained these 2 points. On many of the problems that you'll get on your homework, I won't give you the 2 points, but this is the first one, so I do give you the points. But on the first day, day 1, you weighed 100 pounds. On the 5th day, day 5, you weighed 97 pounds. So we need to just calculate the average rate of change. Go ahead and do that now. Push pause. After you've obtained the slope on this one, come on back and push play. Check your answers here. Should have been negative 3/4 is your slope. Now, the next thing is, what does that mean? What does the slope of negative 3/4 mean? Well, it is the slope is a comparison between your weight and the number of days that you're on this diet. Okay, this is your days, x values are your days, y values are your weight. So the weight in comparison to the number of days. So negative 3/4, what that means is that you are losing 3/4 of a pound, or 0.75 a day. You're losing it. The negative indicates a loss of weight. If you gained weight, it would be a positive number. But basically what that means is that you're losing 0.75 pounds a day. Okay, so on this one, we keep track of this. This is at a mall. They're keeping track of the number of cars that park in the parking lot on a particular day, what the average is. What we're asked to do here is find the average rate of change between January and February. So what you want to do here is you're going to write it down as an ordered pair. January would be 1, February would be 2, March would be 3, all the way down. So you go 1, 1156, 2, 1042. And so I want you to calculate the rate of change between January and February. Go ahead and push pause now. After you've obtained your answer, come back and push play. Okay, hopefully you found out that it was negative 114. Negative 114 over 1 was just negative 114. So what does that mean? What does that represent? That represents that the number of cars decreased by 114 on average from January to February. February had 114 less cars on average than January did. Okay, for these points here, I want you to calculate the slope on this, the average rate of change, but specifically between May and November. Okay, so go ahead and try that now. I'd like you to calculate the slope there, and then not just the slope, but a little bit about what it means. What does that slope represent? So go ahead and push pause now. After you've obtained your answer, come back and push play. Check your answers here. You see that the increase was 360 over a 6-month period. So on average, 60 more cars each month parked there. All right, so now we're going to get to this point. If I give you a point, the point is 1, negative 3, and the slope, I want to know the entire equation in slope-intercept form. Well, we know that the slope is negative 4, and we know that our slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Well, m is our slope. So now that we know that, we can start filling this in. I'm going to plug in 4 here for m. Plug it right there. Now our m's gone. Now I have a point here. So I've got an x value and a y value. What I'm missing here is this b value. So I need to find that out. So we're going to do that by plugging these values in. My y value I know is negative 3. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to plug that in for y. So instead of writing y, I'm going to write negative 3. Then I know what my x value is because that's 1. That's my corresponding one. So I'm going to rewrite this, but instead of writing x, I'm going to write 1. Then I'm going to simplify this and solve this for b. All right, so let's do this. I've got negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Now I need to get b all by itself. I'm going to solve this one for b. That means I need to add 4 to both sides. Negative 3 plus 4 is 1. Well, now I know what b is. b equals 1, and my slope is negative 4. So now I can kind of just fill this in. I've got negative 4. I can fill it in for m. 1, I can fill it in for b, and that is my slope-intercept form. So let's do that now. So I end up with y equals negative 4 plus 1. My negative 4 again came from my slope that was given to me. My b is what I just found. So that is the slope of this line is negative 4. That is the equation of this line that, with the slope of negative 4 and passes through this point right here. Now I'm going to give you a chance to practice this. So I've got 2 of them here. I'd like you to work through both of these. Push pause now. Whenever you have obtained your answer, come on back and push play. Check your answers here. So hopefully you're getting a little bit of practice on that. Your b value here is just 2. That worked out really nice. We're just plugging our missing parts in our b in. We already know what our slope is, so we're just rewriting them in slope-intercept form. Okay, so I want you to try these 2. The slope of a line that's parallel. You got to remember what parallel is. So I'd like you to try both of these 2. Then, when you've obtained your answer, push play. Check your answers here. Hopefully you identified that parallel means that they have the exact same slopes. The slope would be negative 9. So the equation, this one is just like the one that we just did. Hopefully you got that one correct. Now I want to show you the correlation between these 2. Because the next step is write an equation that passes through the line, or passes through the point negative 5, 10, and is parallel to this one. Well, if we say it's parallel to that, that means the slope is negative 9. We're using the slope. So that means the slope is negative 9. Here, you'd end up with this equation right here. Okay, so that's the next step that we're going to do. Again, it's going to say passes through this point and is parallel to this one. Well, if it's parallel, it means it has the same slope. So that's what we're sectioning off of that one. It's just the slope, really. All right, I want you to try this one then, because this is what we're just going through. So push pause now. After you've obtained your answer, come back and push play. Check your answer here. So hopefully you could identify that the slope, parallel lines have the same slope. -2 is going to be our slope. Then we just plug it into this point here. We plug that in to find out what our b is, and we rewrite our equation. That's it. So hopefully that's getting a little bit easier now. Let's try this one right now. Push pause now. After you've obtained your answer, come back and push play. Hopefully on number 1 you got that one, because we've been talking about parallel lines for a little bit now. Parallel lines mean that the slope is the exact same. Perpendicular is a new one. It means that their slope it's the negative reciprocal. So remember, this is 2 over 1, so we change the sign. If it were -2, it would now be a positive 1/2. But this one was a positive 2, so now it's a negative 1/2. We just make it's the reciprocal of this number here. All right. Now we're going to write an equation that passes through these 2 points. That's all I'm going to give you. I'm not even going to give you the slope. Well, we already know how to calculate slope given through 2 points. We've done that before. And we know that if we have a slope and a point, we can plug those in. So we already kind of know how to do this one, but it's just in a different format as well. So let's combine those 2 things we know together. So we find the slope. Here's our equation for slope. I'll label each one of these, and then I'm going to plug it into the equation to find my slope. So that gives me -4 minus 6 and a 3 minus 1. And I've got to simplify that down. That's -10 over 2, which is -5. So I know that the slope is -5. Well, now that I know that the slope on this one is -5, I can use that to find out what my b is. And I've got 2 points here. You can use either point. It does not matter. You'll get the same answer. So you can pick whatever one you find to be easiest. I want you to go ahead and do that now. Push pause now. You can finish this one off, the rest of the equation, and then write the equation in slope-intercept form. Check your answers. So again, on this one, I had to choose one. I just chose this one. I could have chosen this one. It would give me the exact same answer. It'd still give me a B for 11, or 11 for B. So that would still give me the same answer here. Now I want to get more practice on this. So I'm going to give you these 2. Go ahead and push pause now. Then I want you to find the whole equation. I want the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Find that equation. After you've obtained your answer, come back and push play. Check your answers here. Okay, so first thing we have to do is find the slope. After we find the slope, then we can plug that slope in, and one of these 2 points, it doesn't matter which one, plug those in and find out what your value for b is. You'll notice on this one I plugged in the first point. This one I plugged in the second point. It really doesn't matter which one you do. Both of them are okay. Either one's fine. All right, try this again now. You can do the first one. We've done those before. Number 2 here is a little bit more complex because I don't give you the points. So let's talk about that one. When you're 30, you have $45,000 in debt. When you're 40, you have $15,000 in debt. Well, so we need the points there. Well, if you're 30, so it would be 30 comma 45,000. 30, you have $45,000 in debt. And this one would be 40 comma 15,000. All right, now I want you to go ahead and finish this. So go ahead and push pause now. After you've obtained your answers, come back and push play. Check your answers here. Hopefully you find out that this one was -3,000x plus 135,000. So let's talk about that for a second. -3,000x, so -3,000, your slope on this one. -3,000, what does that mean? Well, that's the amount of debt you have divided by the number of years. So it's -3,000 over 1. So that means every year you're paying off $3,000 in debt is really what that one boils down to. Okay, now I'd like you to try these 2. Number 2 is similar to the one that we've done in the past. So you need to come up with your points here. I'm not going to give those to you. I'd like you to try both of these 2. Write the equation of both of these lines. Push pause now. Try to work both of these out. After you've obtained your answer, come back and push play. Check your answers here. Hopefully you identified this, that your slope on this one should be 5 and 75 for your y-intercept, for your b value here. We need to talk a little bit about this slope of 5. this is talking about your weight changes during your life. So this is 5, meaning that you gain 5 pounds every year. So this is at a certain stage in your life where you're starting to gain a little bit of weight, but 5 pounds per year is the rate at which you're gaining those. All right, now let's talk about car purchases. Cars depreciate in value. Once you buy them new, they're worth less the following year and even less the following year. So we get this one here. This is a table, and we're asked to write an equation that represents the cost of the car over time. Well, we can write each one of these as an ordered pair, 2, 17,123, 3, 16,523. Okay, so we can convert all of those to points. Okay, so we can do that. I just chose these 2 points. You can choose any 2 points that you want. On these are going to be the exact same slope on them. Whenever I grabbed these, I made sure that they were the same slope. So I want you to find the cost of the car over time. I want you to write that equation. Okay, so now what we're going to do, now that I've got the 2 points here, is we're just going to write the equation for this one. So we'll go through here. We found out that the slope is negative 600. And we can plug that in to find out what our b value is. We plug it in, we find out our b value is 18,323. That gives us our equation as y equals negative 600x plus 18,323. Well, let's talk about that for a minute. This is our equation that we just developed. What does the slope mean? Negative 600x. Let's see. This is our y values over our x values. So our value of the car divided by the number of years. This is negative 600 divided by 1. So that would be, the practical meaning would be that we're losing $600 every year that we own it. Now let's talk about the value of our y-intercept. The vertical intercept, that's when the x equals 0. And if x equals 0, that means the number of years of ownership. So if x equals 0, you've owned the car 0 years. So basically when the car is new. So brand new, the car is worth 18,323 is what that tells us. And those are going to become important. You need to start learning how to interpret this information into real life. All right, so the car, when it was new, it was worth 18,323. Now I want you to try this one. This is the Chevy Corvette. This is the new Corvette Stingray that are out right now. So go ahead and try this one now. I want you to obtain the equation on that one. Go ahead and push pause now after you've obtained the equation. Then come back and push play. Check your answers here. Y equals negative 3,200x plus 65,620. Okay, so again, if we were asked to find out what the slope on this one was, negative 3,200, this is your value of that car over time. So so we're going to lose $3,200 of value on this car every year that we own it. Our vertical intercept on this one, that would be if our x equals 0, and at 0 that means we've owned the car for 0 years. So basically when the car was new, it was worth $65,620. And that concludes this, this day's lesson. If you need to, you can go back in and review it at all. I also have additional practice problems on the homework that you can go through as well.